Of course, we know that SAA has officially filed for business rescue, but everybody wants to know what this means for the company going forward.
So this is a very interesting thing, because what has essentially happened here is that the board of SAA has agreed essentially to relinquish power of running the national carriers, because business rescuing, a practitioner will come in and take over all the operations, and really all the executives can no longer practice. And he will bring in his own team that will be able to look through the financials as well as to see whether or not the business can be saved. But I've actually got an expert on the line to talk to us about this from our Cape Town studio. I'm joined by Hans Klopper from BDO. Hans, many thanks for your time this afternoon. So you speak about business rescue meaning one of two things. Talk us through that.
A business rescue is essentially, initially, an attempt to restore a company to complete solvency. However, it has proved in most cases that it's not always possible. So the second leg to a successful business rescue is to put creditors in a better position than what they would have been in had the company been placed in immediate liquidation, and which may entail some form of compromise or arrangement with the creditors.
Yep, and I assume with this particular case, it's not a small case. I assume it's going to be various levels of difficulties that are going to be experienced in this particular process.
Yes, it's going to be. Let me add that the business rescue process is meant to be a swift process, but it has proved in most large companies that it is a very long and tedious process, because it's going to involve multiple negotiations with various groups of what we call affected persons, such as shareholders, creditors, unions, employees, etc. And it's going. My prediction is that it is not going to be a swift, quick process.
Yep. One of the important things we need to consider here is whether or not the fact that SAA hasn't been able to produce financials in 2 years. And one of the most important things when going into business rescue is for the practitioner to get an understanding of what the books look like. How are they even going to begin to do that particular process?
Well, then, if that is the case, it's going to be a case of back to basics. The practitioner will have to come in with his team to establish exactly what the asset base of the company is, to determine what the exact liabilities are, and one of the cornerstones of a successful rescue is to then predict what the position would be in a worst case scenario, and then present something to creditors that put them in a better position than what they would have been in a formal liquidation.
Yeah, what's more important here? Is it the jobs or making sure that the creditors get their money?
Sorry, can you repeat that question? The line went faint.
The most important for a practitioner to consider, is it the jobs of the employees in the company, or is it ensuring that creditors are paid?
It's probably a combination of both, because invariably you're going to have a situation where creditors will have to take what we refer to as a haircut, or where they take a compromise or an arrangement, and it may very well be that some jobs will have to be shed in order to save other jobs. So it is a balancing act of the interests of all the affected persons, and one will have to wait and see what the true financial position is before one could make predictions about how it will unfold.
Yeah, maybe just a final thought from you. I'm going to ask for a bit of a prediction here, looking at how big SAA is and other business rescue operations that have happened with other airlines across the world that haven't really gone well. Do you think SAA has a fighting chance, or, you know, are we just kind of kicking around a dead horse?
It is going to be a challenge. Let me add that it's going to be a challenge, because you dealing with a product here that is unlike a retail situation, where you need to have the confidence of the patrons and the public out there to keep on booking their airline tickets on the specific airline. The airline will have to, in conjunction with the appointed business rescue practitioner or practitioners, send out a clear message that it is business as usual. Without that, there are very limited opportunities available, and it may very well be that a line in the sand will have to be drawn, and a new operator will have to come in to provide a temporary service whilst the affairs of the company is being restructured in the background, and where proposals are being submitted to creditors which they may find palatable. Ultimately, the creditors will have to decide whether they like what is being presented to them or not. So, not shareholders. It's going to be a situation of creditors voting for or against whatever restructuring proposal is tabled.
Hans Klopper, Director of the Business Restructuring Team at BDO, many thanks for your time this afternoon.